Hey Sabrina, I see you already on. Hey, how you doing? All right, just giving people a moment. All right, welcome. Hey, how are you? Hi, Renee Warren. It's a pleasure to have you with us as you guys are coming on. So glad. Let me know where you're from also. Please give me your cities in there. Hey, Sabine, I know where you're from. You're from Los Angeles. All right. But for some of the others, please give me where you're from. Let me know where you're tuning in from. All right. Tonight we're going to get deep. We're going to jump right into it. All right. From Lakeland, Florida. Awesome. Palm Springs. Renee, I love Palm Springs in the fall, not in the summer. Trinidad. All right. I have the funny feeling that Trini person is not actually in Trinidad right now. But at any rate. All right. New Jersey, Jersey. All right. From Jersey. Okay, that's a bad impression of Jersey people. Rosie Pringle. Okay, in the house, repping Brooklyn. Okay, Rosie. Awesome. All right. Maylin Boykin in Atlanta, Georgia. Michael Wu. How you doing, Mike? Kristen Dunson from Fairbird. Awesome. All right, guys, listen. It's so glad you guys joined in. This is how this goes, okay? Someone said they thought of me when I went out on a date at a Tropical restaurant. Well, hopefully you thought more about your date, but I appreciate it. Shanice from Reedsville, Pennsylvania. Julius Green from Punta Cana. What's up? Hey, listen, let's rock and roll. We're gonna be answering some questions from last week. So what I want you guys to do is, if you have questions that you that you want to, I see you, Renee. You have questions that you want to ask, things you want us to talk about in coming weeks. Please let us know. I have someone on here taking notes. They're going to be taking notes and finding out what topics you want to cover. Now, mind you, going forward, we're going to be bringing in some other professionals as well. They're going to be handling issues such as parenting and single dating. I want to have some single people who are going to be presenting their perspectives. We're going to do some interviewing and what have you. So you guys stay with me. Tell your friends to download the app. And listen, did you know also you can actually go into the app where you're obviously in the app right now, and you can do the Ask Pastor Cal. Ask Pastor Cal. There are questions. You have questions about life, about relationships. My last 30 years of work are poured into the AI there, and I will give you an answer either by text or by audio, depending on which you choose. Okay? So let's jump right into it, because I'm excited about this. One thing that I found to be interesting that a lot of you wanted to know last week when we talked, and we're going to be on a couple times this week, but one thing you guys wanted to know last week was, how do I disagree without fighting or getting angry? Listen, a lot of people in relationships and single, even in any kind of relationship, they find that sometimes it's difficult to be being taken the right way. And so people often get angry. Now, let me just give this little caveat. If every conversation you get in, people are getting angry at you, and you're saying things and people are angry, the way they're responding or what have you, you have to first of all consider the common denominator. If this is happening to a high degree of times, you are the common denominator. So the question is, if everybody's getting angry when you say stuff or when you enter into any kind of disagreement, you have to first of all consider, wait a minute, am I doing something wrong? Comes to what we always say with my wife going also as far as introspection and accountability. Hi, math user, MAPFP user. Listen, again, if you just joined the app and you have not put in your profile, it's going to come up as MAFP user. So when you get a chance, go put on your profile, fill out your profile also so I know your name. Okay, so how do I disagree though without fighting or getting angry? How does this happen? How do I do it? Does anyone here, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, you start out a discussion which might be just a light conversation. It may be just something that's very simple. You may just have a question or what have you. And before you finished, within 5 minutes, that question is turned into something else and then something else. And before you know it, now it's a full-blown argument. I'm sure some of you may be able to relate to that. So how? Someone said, yep, that happened just last night. Why does that happen? Why is it that we're finding it difficult in a lot of situations to have a decent conversation without arguing? Listen, let me share this with you. Nobody, unless you have some kind of psychotic issue, no one enjoys arguing. And if you're in any kind of relationship where your partner enjoys arguing, I'm going to suggest that you get into a different relationship. Unless you're married, then you work it out. But outside of that, no one should enjoy arguing. Hey, Nick D, no one should enjoy that. So if you're in a relationship or in any kind of relationship, whether it's romantic or filial, meaning you're the sister or brother or what have you, and you're in some kind of relationship and you're always coming up with an argument, we're going to find out tonight how to deal with that, because that was a serious question that someone asked. Another question that was asked, and I'm hoping we can get to it, is what does real forgiveness look like? Because forgiveness is so important in a relationship. What does real forgiveness look like, especially in marriage? But I'm going to talk about forgiveness across the board. If you're dating, especially if you're a single person, and there's something that was done to you in the past, and you can't move forward because you have not forgiven. But let's get to our first topic, our first subject, okay? How do I disagree without being disagreeable? How do I have an argument or have a conversation, a serious conversation, without being a disagreeable person? Okay. Now, first of all, we have to understand that arguing is not a bad thing. It's really not. Having a conflict is not a bad thing. When two people are having a discussion and they're in conflict with each other, you know what that means? That you're both thinking. It means that you're both thinking and you both have opinions. So the issue here is not whether you have differing opinions. That's not the issue. In fact, a lot of times people believe that because we're arguing, we need to get on the same page. No, you actually don't. I know that's kind of difficult. That's kind of a shocker that you don't have to get on the same page, not with the subject matter. You know, the Gottman Institute talks about this, one of a very revered institute, relationship institute, and they say that being on the same page is not always the answer. It's not always necessary, because we think sometimes, well, we need to get on the same page. We need to get on the same page. Well, here's the only page you need to be on. You need to be on the same page concerning how you relate to each other. But if you are two intelligent people, you don't always have to agree. I think that's a misnomer we have in discussions, in relationships, that we always have to agree. I've always said that if you always agree with me, it means one of us not listening. If we always agree with each other, somebody is not listening. Somebody's not thinking. Okay? Someone says, what if the other person is accusing you of the same things they do? Okay, thank you for that. What if someone is accusing you of the same things they do? Let me share this with you, especially in intimate relationships. Your relationship doesn't have to have complete equity. I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to let it marinate for a second. Relationships are not always fair. What if the other person is accusing you of the same things they're doing? I hear this all the time. Just because something bothers you, it doesn't bother me. And I'm going to use my wife for this. For her, it bothers her if I raise my voice. Okay? For me, if you raise your voice for having a passionate argument, I'm not going to trip about it too much, right? But for her, if I really get loud, it's a bothersome thing. Now, does she ever raise her voice? Yes, she does. Does it bother me as much as it bothers her? No, it doesn't. But is that unequal? Is that inequity? Is that fighting fair? No, well, fairness is relative. Just because it bothers me and it doesn't bother you, doesn't mean we both have to operate on the same level. Okay? There are things that I will say, or that she will say, or that you will say, or your significant other might say in a relationship. And if that thing does not bother them, that's fine. But if that thing bothers you, it's a whole different ballgame. We have to get this out of our mind that we have to always be tit for tat. What bothers me, if you don't like it, then don't do it. If you don't like it, then don't do it. That's not even reasonable. Relationships don't have to be equal. They do have to be equitable. There's a difference. Okay? Because I do something and you do something, we can do different things. It may bother me, so let's not do it. But it may not bother you, so it's okay if I do a little bit more than you do. That's called a relationship. That's how it works. I know this may be some kind of novel because you're like, well, why are you arguing with me about the same thing that you do? Well, does it bother you? Well, no. Well, then okay. It bothers me. This is how we learn to get along. Okay. Now, I want to go back, though, to how do I disagree without being disagreeable? First of all, active listening. Get this. Pay full attention to what the person is saying, not just waiting to respond. If you don't want to be disagreeable, listen before you respond. Quite often, we are so eager to win or so eager to get our point across that before we even hear what the person has said, we already have an answer. I know where you're going, and I'm going to jump in there with an answer. You're being disagreeable. Listen. I don't care how much it hurts. I don't care if you have to bite your tongue. I don't care if you have to pinch yourself. Listen fully. You just might be surprised that maybe where they were going is not where you thought they were going. Active listening means paying full attention to your partner and don't wait just to rebut. Okay. Second, validate one another's feelings. How do you do that? You validate people's feelings by saying, you know what? I hear what you're saying, but take but out, and or we. I hear what you're saying. Okay, I hear what you're saying. And I can see why you say that. Not but. I hear what you're saying, and I can see why you feel that way. I want you to practice this. Take away the buts. Okay, no but. I hear what you're saying, and I understand how you could feel that way. Okay? You know what? I feel that way too sometimes. Tell me more. Let them talk. Let them get it all out. I don't care how much it hurts. Let them get it all out. And I will guarantee you, and I've tried this in different relationships, that if someone is upset and you let them just argue and you say, yeah, I understand how you see. I hear you. I hear you. I see you. I hear you. I hear you. And I understand why you feel that way. I understand why you feel that way. Just continue. I want to hear more. Let them talk. Eventually, they're going to get to the point they're going to say, okay, well, what do you think? What do you say? It always happens because they're going to start hearing themselves. Okay? Someone says, how long should we listen if it seems like the person is talking and going on and on? How bad do you want the relationship? Yes, if they're going on and on, there's a lot to get off their chest. This is why relationships, marriage ain't for punk. You got to let a person talk. That's active listening. Valid active listening says yes. That's why people want to get it over quickly. We're going to talk about that in forgiveness in a second. But people want to get discussions over quickly. You cannot. You must allow that person to get it off their chest, or else it will come back later. Yes, it's going to take a while. Okay, you're going to miss the game tonight. Just face it. But you're going to get this off your chest. I'm going to listen to you. And after I listen to you, I'm going to validate your feelings. I'm going to use I feel statements, I statements like, okay, I feel that you're upset now. I feel whatever. Okay. You're never going to accuse. You're going to always put it back on you. The next thing, and this comes from the Gottman Institute, he says, listen, be mindful of the 4 horsemen: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Stay away from that. Stay away from criticism in your arguments. Stay away from contempt. Okay? Contempt is that thing where you look down on a person and you roll in your eyes and you make another person feel small. Stay away from that. And defensiveness, where you're trying to defend everything. They're coming at you and you're backpedaling. You're putting up your guard. You're defending. You're ready to go. You rebuttal. Stay away from that. And stonewalling is where you're just shutting down and you're giving an appearance of apathy. Where you're just like, okay, whatever. Okay, sure, whatever. Nope, whatever. Silence is deadly and silence is painful. Don't do it. Okay? Another question, what if the other person is long-winded and gives you an opportunity to respond, but you forget the points you need to correct by the time they are done? Then you tell them, you know what, I want to, and I'm serious, tell them, thank you, write them down ahead of the conversation. Thank you, Maylin. Write them down. Tell the person, I really want to understand what you're saying. And I'm not using my phone to do anything but so that I'll know what to respond to. Okay. I want to hear what you're saying. So can you mind if I just write down what you're saying so that I can understand? Communication is everything. Okay. And lastly, if you don't want to be disagreeable, find common ground. Look for areas where you might actually agree. And even if the overall issue remains a point of a contention, still there are issues in that conversation where you can agree. Again, you don't have to be on the same page, but you have to be in the same book when it comes to how you deal with each other. There are a lot of things my wife and I don't agree with. And it'll just be that way. Why? Because we're both 2 intelligent people. And if you agree with everything I say and I agree with everything you say, then somebody is not listening. Because 2 people who are growing and evolving will always have disagreements. Okay, it's just the way it is. All right. Maylin says, I'm a therapist, but thank you for this because I can't therapize my own relationships. Maylin, I'm here to tell you, girl, I'm here to tell you that it's so easy to dish it out as opposed to taking it. And therapists know, we all know that it's very difficult sometimes to therapize yourself. It really is. Okay, so find common ground. Avoid the 4 horsemen of conversation, like contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Use I statements, validate feelings, and use active listening skills. This is really, really important. Which is most important? All of them. All of them are important. Okay. All right. I hope you got that. There's so much more. This is something that we're going to constantly be talking about. How do I disagree and still be disagreeable? You have to express your opinions. And I challenge you, please express your opinions. But you don't have to express them in a way where the other person walks away feeling bad. There can always be a win-win. When I started as a young man at 24 years old, I was pastoring a church. And a young man, an elderly gentleman told me this. He said, you know what? After a very spirited meeting, and I was very demonstrative, he said, you know what? You can tell a person to go to hell in a way that they'll want to go. I never forgot that. That was decades ago. And I said, yes, you can disagree without being disagreeable. Okay. Another question that someone asked me. Was this, okay, shouldn't we all be responsible for our actions? Some people reciprocate animosity and blame the other person for their actions. Yes, we should all be responsible for our actions. Sweep around your own back door before you try to sweep around mine. And I know that people reciprocate animosity. Yes, people do tit for tat. But again, someone has to relent. Someone has to give in. Fighting fire with fire never works. If one person is gone awry emotionally, they're unhinged. If you're fighting fire with fire, then you both will be consumed. You need to resolve that situation by being vulnerable, sitting back, not letting your emotions get the best of you, okay, and letting that person talk. Somebody's got to be the grown-up in the conversation. All right. Now, here's another question that comes that someone was asking, actually. Forgiveness is so important in any relationship, especially marriage. None of us are perfect. How do you truly forgive? And what does true forgiveness look like? Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this one in the next 7 minutes here. What does true forgiveness look like? Okay, first of all, there's an old saying, to err is human, to forgive divine. It's not in the Bible. I think it was maybe Benjamin Franklin who said it. To err is human, to forgive divine. Okay. We all make mistakes, and we all deserve forgiveness. But to forgive someone literally means to give before. Okay, forgive. Old English, F-O-R-E is before. To forgive, okay, means to give before. I'm giving you something before you deserve it. So let's think about this. If I'm really going to forgive you, especially in a relationship, let's go from single people, right? A lot of single people can't move forward because there are things in their past that they cannot forgive. There are things in their past that they have not gotten over. Let me share this with you. In order for you to move forward, sometimes people think they need closure. You think you need to contact people and get closure. I believe in closure, but I don't necessarily believe that you have to contact people to get it. I believe that you can find your own closure. You can write a letter, say everything you want, every evil thing you want to say in that letter, and then burn it. But most of the time, the thing to bring forgiveness is understanding that forgiveness, first of all, is not for the other person, it's for you. And you must understand that when you forgive someone, you're actually releasing them from your judgment. Okay? When you forgive someone, you're actually releasing them from your judgment. When I forgive you, literally, it's just a word. I forgive you. It's just a phrase. I forgive you. But what does that mean? It means I'm giving you grace before you deserve it. I'm giving you a pass on this before you deserve it. I'm giving you a way out. I'm not going to hold my judgment over you. I'm not going to make you feel bad about what you did. That's what real forgiveness means. Real forgiveness says that I'm going to release you from every negative feeling I feel about you. Now, does that mean I'll never feel those feelings again? Absolutely not. But true forgiveness means that I won't bring it up. Now, all that being said, real forgiveness says this. I can only get to that point. I can only get to that point when I've allowed myself to heal. FP user says, how do you keep going when someone won't truly forgive you? They keep bringing it up and holding it over your head. They have not released you from their judgment. Okay. First of all, if that person has not forgiven you, okay, understand this. If you're the offender, you must forgive yourself. As an offender, you must forgive yourself. All right. There are stages of grief. You know, there's denial and bargaining and anger and eventually acceptance, right? Sometimes when a person has been wronged harshly enough, you have to go through that. Okay, so if you have forgiven yourself and that person has not forgiven you, they need to be educated on what forgiveness looks like. Because sometimes people feel as though because you injured me in some kind of way, I have a right to bring it up forever. You don't have that right. But then listen to this, okay, user. Hear me again. If you are the offending person, understand, and get this now, understand that, I'll just give an example, one example in my book from a couple that I knew. He was in an affair for 6 months. After the affair, it was over. Probably another 2 or 3 months. The burden was so heavy, he decided to confess it to his wife. Or I think the girlfriend may have called his wife and for some reason. But roughly 7 or 8 months had transpired since the beginning of that thing. When the wife found out about it, she decided to stay, but she was livid. She was angry, and she berated him. They went through a lot for the next 6 months. Now, there's about 7 months since the time he started to the time he confessed. 6 months after he confessed, they're still going through it. He comes and he says, why can't she forgive me? Why didn't she let it go? Why didn't she let it go? And I had to remind him of this. Stay with me. I had to say, it took you from the time you started the affair, 7 months ago, 6 months worth of affairs, you're dealing with it. Now, 3 months later, or a month or two later, you're deciding to tell your wife. You've already resolved it. You've already forgiven yourself. You've already dealt with it. She's just dealing with it. And the moment you told her, it just happened. At the moment you told her, it's not fair for you to expect her to get over it in a week or two or a month or two or 2 or 3 months when you've had 8 months to deal with it. And you're good, but she's not good. Or vice versa. You're good and he's not good. You have to allow a person to go through those things, to go through it. Now, if it's been years, you're living your life, and they're still bringing it up, then they need some counseling. They need some professional counseling. Because what they're doing now, very easily, you can turn pain into punishment. And what was pain at one time, now they might be using it as punishment. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying that a counselor might help them move through that. Now, I'm going to say this to you. That when it comes to forgiveness, I'm a spiritual person. If you are, roll with me. If you're not, okay. But get this. I believe that forgiveness is kind of like being forgiven of your wrongdoings if you're a Christian. That if you believe that there was in the cross and that you were forgiven of your sins, you were forgiven from your past, your present, and your future. Okay? That's how forgiveness goes in the Bible. If that's what you believe, and then we are told to forgive others as we have been forgiven, that if I'm going to truly forgive someone, and even if you're not a believer, if you're not a Christian, this applies to you. Because if you're going to truly forgive someone, you have to forgive them of their past, what they did. You have to forgive them of the present, who they are. And you also have to forgive for the possibility that they might do it again. That is difficult. That's difficult. You have to forgive for the past, what you did. You have to forgive the present, who you are, and the future, who you might be. Now, I've talked to a number of couples, a number of people who are questioning divorce because of infidelity. And I asked them this question. Listen, can you forgive the possibility that it might happen again? No, I can't forgive that. Okay, then, no, but here's the deal. You have to forgive the act, the actor, and not just the act. So irrespective, you can forgive and stay and forgive and leave, but you got to forgive. Because you're not forgiving the act, you're forgiving the actor. And if I'm forgiving the actor, I'm forgiving the fact that this person in the past had a problem. This person still, even though they said they're sorry, even though they're making a change, even though they're turning their life around, they may still have a problem. There may be lapses. And there's a possibility in the future that it could happen again. Now, marriage ain't for punks. And if you really want to forgive, that's how it's done. Now, if it does happen again, then that person falls under your umbrella of forgiveness. Now, do you have to stay just because you forgive? No. If staying is more injurious to you than leaving, then you have to make that choice. I can't tell you to leave. I can't tell you to stay. That's not my job. But if staying is more harmful than leaving, then you have to make that choice. But the fact is, forgiveness has to be deep. It has to be real. You have to release that person from your judgment, and you have to let it go. Not for them, but for you. Because if you do not, you will carry that baggage into your next relationship, and you will be living a heavy, heavy, sorrowful, and burdensome existence. Okay? All right, last comment, and then I'm gone. It's tough to think a person will hurt me again, and I have to not be suspicious knowing that. Yeah, that is. That's tough. It's tough. That's what I said. You have the option to forgive and stay and forgive and leave. Nick D. So if they commit infidelity and they continue to meet up and talk to the person they cheated with, does that mean you did not forgive them the first time? Of course not. Of course not. Yeah, you can forgive. Again, remember, you're forgiving the actor. This person obviously has a problem with cheating. So you're not forgiving what they did. You're forgiving who they are. Now, in doing that, you can decide to leave if you so choose. I've learned a long time ago, I don't tell people how to be married. I don't tell people how to be in relationships. I tell them how to, if they want to make it work, I can tell them. But if they want to stay or they want to leave, that's on them. Okay? So if this person is still meeting up, they're still cheating, you got to forgive them regardless, Nick. You got to forgive them regardless. But the thing is that you don't have to stay there. Trusting someone again is a choice based on the actions of the other person. You decide if you trust them again. Thank you, Maylin. You're absolutely right. Trusting someone again is a choice based on their actions. You can trust. You can choose to trust. I know people who've had terrible infidelity in their past. And now they finally got together and they've been married for years. I'm thinking of one couple, they've been married over 23 years now. Terrible infidelity in their past. But they chose to stay. And it worked. I know the converse, the opposite also. People who chose to leave because they couldn't handle it. So, there you have it. Okay? I hope you did get... I hope you got something out of this evening. I hope I did answer some questions. Those are two really important questions that you guys asked on last week. And if you have more, please, open matchmaking. I'm ready. Okay, Nick D, I love it. Nick, I'm going to tell you something. Please go tell your friends to download the app. We're going to be opening matchmaking really, really soon, okay? You are so welcome, Renee. Renee Warren, bless your heart. Monica McFarland, you are welcome also. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Great stuff. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys being on. Please download your app. Tell your friends about it. This is good stuff. You're not going to get this outside the app. This is only in. Also, you can go to Ask Pastor Cal inside the app if you have any questions in the meantime. But we're going to be doing more and more and more of this. I need you here. Tell your friends. Let's get this movement started. Let's make this thing happen. And let's save and create some great relationships. All right? You guys take care. God bless.